We watched The Big Chill this weekend, which was released in September of 1983. And I was just beginning my senior year in high school that year. So, believe it or not, I never saw the movie. Um, so this is my first time seeing the movie. And the subject seemed boring to me back then, so I didn't go to see it in the theater. I had friends who went and really liked it, but I'm not going to do an analysis of it right now, but I just wanted to share something, just some insights, more cultural insights, and for me, there's somewhat nostalgic insights. I would say probably for my whole generation. So I'm Gen X, right? So so the movie was released in September of 1983. It really brought back for me the atmosphere that we were living in the early 1980s. There was a sense that something there were exciting changes taking place. Like we were just awakening to something, or we were in the cusp of something. And it was there was an exciting atmosphere at that time. It seemed like the culture was changing a lot. And it really was an exciting time to be a young person. Um, some of the things I noticed about the atmosphere in the movie that I wanted to comment on. First of all, I'll just mention that the whole running shoe thing, everyone's running. So of course in the 70s, into the late 70s, and then into the early 80s, through the 80s, running was like an obsession. So I started running when I was 14, when I was a freshman in high school. And a lot of people would run, and running shoes were a big deal. It was like this big new, it was like an exciting thing. So um, I thought that sort of brought back memories how these people were running, and Kevin Kline's character, I forget the names, but Kevin Kline's character had the running shoes delivered to the house for everyone, right? Um, Another thing that struck me was that how these were a group of friends having group dinners. Now, of course, they had to have group dinners, I guess, to some extent, because they were old friends getting together at a house years after college, right, for a weekend. So it makes sense they're reunited, but it that was much more common back then to have, um, as a kid at that time, to families getting together, uh, one family going over to another family's house for dinner, or your parents going to a dinner party at friend's house where everyone brought something or they cooked together, you know. And that was also it was also a time when sort of um a sort of sense of higher level cuisine was emerging, right? It's like pesto was a big deal, right? Pesto sauce. And that was a new thing. So there's a sense that like the culture was escalating in terms of the quality of cuisine. And you saw that in consumer products, the quality of consumer products to help you enjoy this higher level, higher quality cuisine that people were making. Um, the other thing is, everyone's a or most of the characters are professionals, or they're focused on their career or business, and that was a big deal in the everyone. There was like this obsession with success achievement through career, right? And just really focusing on trying to really make it in your career and make as much money as you can. And it sort of hit a pinnacle in the late 80s. It really did. You saw things like in the late 80s, like if you went to college, right? And you started looking at grad school, all of a sudden they had these dual degree programs like PhD, MD, or MD law degree. Get a dual degree at the same time. MD, MBA, JD, MBA, right? This was a big deal. So people were obsessed with getting as much education as they could. Um, Another thing I noticed is when they were together as a group, how much how much quiet time there was. They didn't, today every moment has to be filled, and if you can't sit alone with a group of people quietly, right, and just have quiet, casual conversation that evolves, and that's partly I feel because of phone culture. Like every moment has to be filled. Your attention has to be focused on something at every moment. And if you're in a group and you have downtime, people will pick up their phones, right? So that was an issue. Um, think another thing was the focus on sexual relations between the groups. And I remember that as a young person in the 80s, there was a big focus. And it seems to be it was so open and explicit and um, very different today, I think. Extremely different, especially because of what I know about young people not dating and things like that. It's very, I think that's changed a lot. Also, what was neat was to see again, I forget the characters' names, but the guy who played the TV actor. Um, he he had a down vest, and I think the sleeves would zip off because it was a vest, and then later on it was a jacket, and it was like the same coat. And that was remember that was a huge thing in the 80s, like down. Everyone had a down puffer coat, right? And everyone was going skiing back then. So you get these ski coats that were down, puffer coats. So that's it. I just want to share that. I might have do another video where I do some analysis of the movie. I was surprised, but I really did enjoy it, and we watched it twice. So